But this is one of the instances in which I think Ben Shapiro is like kind of being honest and real. Like, I think it does actually bother him, probably for a combination of ideological and religious reasons, the weird sex stuff and sex crimes Andrew Tate is alleged to have engaged in.
Conservative commentator Ben Shapiro is upset with certain aspects of MAGA cozying up to known slimeball Andrew Tate. John Iadarola on the Damage Report broke all this down. We're going to take a look at clips of Andrew Tate, Ben Shapiro, John Iadarola. I'm going to share my thoughts on this as well. Let's get into this together.
Ron DeSanctimonious.
I'm frustrated by you not answering a direct question.
Trump needs to take a good look in the mirror.
Teeing off the most recent round in this fight, take a look at this.
I agree with everything you say, and I have your back out here in the States. And when I saw that you were going to be on, I said to Benny, I have to meet Andrew Tate. I think that your anger is the same that President Trump has for our country, and the time is now for us to stop being wimps. I think that's exactly the right sentiment. And I also have to say that I sympathize with you, because I think you go through a lot of the same show me the person, I'll find the crime that President Trump has gone through. You're being under siege, and I see it. And just keep fighting. I mean, I'm here for it. You know, there is no time anymore for weakness. We are being destroyed, and we need strong, powerful voices like yours. And yeah, I got your back over here.
Well, I tell you, if I ever get stateside, and I think I will sooner or later, if I ever need a lawyer, I'll be calling.
I think that a fake man's man like him deserves a fake lawyer like her. Also, I love every time he opens his mouth, it's a reminder that like, oh yeah, he doesn't sound as tough as he'd like to, I bet. But anyway, look, I could remind you of all the reasons why it's utterly pathetic that Alina Habba would say, I agree with everything Andrew Tate says, but I don't think I need to do that. I'm gonna let Ben Shapiro do it in a second. I also could point out why it's so weird and pathetic that he's like Zoom backgrounded himself into being with a podium and flags or whatever. Such a weird choice. But anyway, let's get to a reminder before we go to Ben Shapiro, a reminder of who Andrew Tate is.
I have to fuck her so she obeys me. I don't give a shit about having sex with beautiful women. I fuck them so they listen to me, so I can get what I actually want, which is not them. To means to an end. Every single Bond girl was exploited. That's exactly what I do. When I watch a Bond film and I see him basically pimp a bitch, to me that speaks to my heart. I've been there. I've done that. Anyone who's followed me long enough knows that I first made my $1 million with a webcam business. I have met beautiful women with a good personality and thought, she will make me money. I have to f this bitch. I don't want to have sex with her. I just need the money.
Okay, leaving aside his complete misreading of the Bond movies, which I've seen every one of, I don't know what he watched. That is what Alina Habba agrees with by definition, because she agrees with everything he says. So him having sex with women so that he can convince them to engage in sex work so he can extract all the money from it, Alina Habba agrees with that, as well as everything else he said. But that's my view. Ben Shapiro had such an issue with what Alina Habba said that he did a 20-minute video trying to convince her and the right to dump Andrew Tate. And I want you to remember, this is Ben Shapiro. So his 20-minute video is like 40 minutes of a regular person convincing you that you don't need to be affiliated with Andrew Tate. We're just...
Before we see this, I just wanted to say, with Alina Habba defending this scumbag, Andrew Tate, there's no low that's too low for MAGA, and particularly these MAGA inner circle people. And this idea that, you know, if they just look hard enough, they're going to find a crime on anybody. No, I mean, there are all kinds of people who haven't done the horrible things that Andrew Tate has been accused of. There are all kinds of people who haven't done the horrible things that Donald Trump has been convicted of, a now convicted felon. So no, there are all kinds of people out there who manage to go through their entire life without committing crimes, and the types of crimes that Donald Trump and Andrew Tate have committed.
Just going to play a little bit of it, though. Take a look at this.
I want to start today with a controversy that erupted online but is sort of indicative of a broader problem that the right currently has with, say, the influencer class. This controversy erupted because Benny Johnson had on Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, for those who don't know, is an online provocateur. He is mostly famous for one time being a kickboxer, and now he sort of runs around with his shirt off with fancy cars and good-looking women and smokes cigars and says some things that are sort of useful critiques of the left, but mostly says crazy stuff online. And he has generated an enormous following, So Benny Johnson had on Andrew Tate, and he also had on at the same time Alina Habba, who is a counsel for the Trump team. And Alina Habba was really praising Tate.
It's funny that I think he's mispronouncing her name there, which I find is very interesting. But regardless, he's right. It's a good critique, and we're gonna get to more of it in just a sec. But this is one of the instances in which I think Ben Shapiro is like kind of being honest and real. Like, I think it does actually bother him, probably for a combination of ideological and religious reasons. The weird sex stuff and sex crimes Andrew Tate is alleged to have engaged in. That does seem like a thing that does really trigger Ben Shapiro. Unfortunately, not always. He thinks Pete Hegseth should definitely be Secretary of Defense. The fact that he's been accused of sexual assault and has also cheated on a bunch of his wives, for some reason that doesn't violate the religious beliefs of Ben Shapiro. But anyway, he has more to say about Habba particularly. Let's go to that.
What Alina Habba is saying there is not actually true about Andrew Tate. He is not of the same ilk as President Trump. Find me the person and I'll find you the crime.
And this is where Ben Shapiro is absolutely hypocritical. He's correct to be against Andrew Tate because Andrew Tate is a scumbag. But Andrew Tate and Donald Trump are of the same ilk in terms of the way that they have lived their lives. So Ben Shapiro is being a total hypocrite there.
That is true of President Trump. That is not particularly true of Andrew Tate. No one is saying you can't have Andrew Tate on your show. It's a free country. You should do what you want. What I'm saying is that if you say you're conservative and then you have someone who truly is disgusting on and you proceed to tout them, praise them, nod along to everything they say, cheer them, you're doing more than platforming, which again is fine. Platforming, the idea that you can never have a conversation. You can have a conversation with whomever you want, but there's a difference between having a conversation with a person and becoming a propagandist for that person. If you're a person, for example, who purports to stand for biblical values or American values or traditional values, you probably have a moral obligation, you certainly have a moral obligation to ask Andrew Tate, who is a self-stated bad man, hard questions about his actions and his beliefs and his past, not to, as so many on the right have, help him falsely rewrite his legal record or ignore all of the things he's actually said while nodding enthusiastically.
I think that is so amazing because he's right that you shouldn't do that with Andrew Tate. I mean, it becomes needlessly convoluted where he has to be like, no, but you could totally have on the show. I love free speech or whatever, when he clearly doesn't think there's any reason for you to have Andrew Tate on. But everything he just said there about not nodding along and helping him rewrite his history, you should ask him tough questions about what he did, is the exact advice that he should be giving to Republican senators right now with Pete Hegseth. But of course, he doesn't want that because he likes Pete Hegseth. He wants him to be Secretary of Defense.
And so John Iadarola is completely right about this. And again, I agree with Ben Shapiro in his assessment of Andrew Tate. He's totally right about this. But you can't throw out the thing of family values and biblical values and then support Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. That's where the whole thing breaks down. Yes, Ben Shapiro, absolutely right to be critical of Andrew Tate, but be consistent. If you actually believe these things that you're saying, if you actually believe in family values, so-called family values, and you actually believe in biblical values, there's no one that we've seen basically in public life in terms of politics in the United States that is more the opposite of biblical values and family values than Donald Trump. And Pete Hegseth is in this same category as well. I mean, we don't know Pete Hegseth as well as we know Donald Trump, most of us, but he doesn't seem to be, they all want to stand behind Jesus, in Pete Hegseth's confirmation here. Oh, it's, I did all of these horrible things, but now I'm forgiven, because Jesus loves me and I love Jesus. They all do that song and dance. But Pete Hegseth, scumbag. Donald Trump, scumbag. Andrew Tate, scumbag. None of these people represent family values or biblical values. And it's just amazing the millions and millions of people who have fallen for this nonsense. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with John Iadarola here? Do you agree with Ben Shapiro about Andrew Tate? But also, should he extend that criticism to other people who are not following family values and biblical values and are just as big as scumbags as what Andrew Tate is? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. This is Chris on Culture. I'll see you in the next video.